All right, the season is over for the All-Star. Mark Klein wins the final week of the season. He won 5 overall titles this week. 3 times he beat me out. I finished in second place. This guy is just the bane of my existence. He beats me in the playoffs 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah, I don't want to go back to that play right there. Or maybe the Reggie Bush double with 4.5 minutes left to go in that game that sealed the victory over me. What does this guy have to do? Reggie Bush, I mean, if he would have taken care of business while he was at USC, the Trojans would be in a title game right now. But you got to give it to Mark Klein. He did everything right this year. He made moves. He was active. He got D'Angelo in a trade. He got Harvin in a trade. He picked up A.J. Green in the draft. And, of course, this big deal right here where he gave up his #1 for McCoy. That pretty much got him there. And it's too bad he didn't finish higher in the points race. He still got 3rd place. The Chiefs win 1st place. Congratulations to the Chiefs. What About Bob got 2nd. I still can't figure out how What About Bob even finished in this point race. He did basically nothing for his team all season. He had some key players like Matt Stafford, who had a career year. And, of course, he had Arian Foster coming back from that deal he made with me 2 years ago. And maybe this guy right here, Rob Gronkowski, set an NFL record for tight ends, 17 touchdowns. And maybe had a lot to do with this guy doing nothing. Ernie Meinhardt of the Jets basically fell apart. He did nothing during the active. In fact, if you go back to week 11, look where he was. 1st place in overall points. I'm 93 points back. But I got Drew Brees down the stretch, who had a monster finish, and I made the deals. I got Gates in the trade. He did moderately well for me this year. I traded for Beanie Wells. He did okay. I had some decent point weeks. Maurice Jones-Drew had one really outstanding week and was consistent down the stretch. And, of course, Dwayne Bowe had a really bad year, but still got into the points overall. And maybe this guy right here, David Akers, probably the most second valuable player on my team. Take a look at the points now of what guys did this year. Aaron Rodgers was the leading point getter for the season. Drew Brees a close second. Quarterbacks all the way through. Cam Newton at 3rd, Brady at 4th, and Matt Stafford at 5th. Calvin Johnson and Ray Rice rounded up the top 7 of the season. And now we look at the second half of the top point getters. McCoy's right there, and then you got Jordy Nelson with 50 points in the last 2 weeks to get into the top 10. Gronkowski we talked about. You've got Romo in there, and of course Foster and Akers, Matt Ryan, Rivers, and Victor Cruz on that list as well. Overall points this season have given me, I'll give you my 1st and 2nd team. I'm going to make Rodgers the overall 1st team quarterback. He was just more consistent all throughout this season, and definitely the MVP the 1st half. Drew Brees the 2nd half MVP. You could really take a coin flip there. Rice and McCoy, and I'm going to make Victor Cruz into the 1st team over Jordy Nelson, even though Nelson had more points. Cruz was more consistent. And let's go to that Super Bowl. This guy right here, he does things a weird way. I don't like the trade he made, but he got the Super Bowl victory, and my hat's off. Congratulations to Dave of the Mustangs. Definitely a weird guy. He doesn't finish in the point race at all, but he somehow manages to get into that Super Bowl. That's his 4th Super Bowl and his 2nd victory in our 20-year history. Tim Tebow was, he was okay down the stretch, but it was Marshall that really got him in that title game, and, of course, Jordy Nelson. But look, he leaves Jordy Nelson. He takes him out of his lineup in the final week of the season. How do you explain that? His most consistent point getter. Marshall's been good, and, of course, maybe overpaid in that draft. Tim Tebow versus Michael Vick, I'm going to keep talking about that till I'm blue in the face. It was just a horrible deal for the Mustangs. But Jordy Nelson down the stretch did the job, and why he was on his bench in week 17, I don't know. But it wouldn't have mattered. But look at the Jets. They left Matt Flynn on the bench. Matt Flynn would have got them 1st overall in points had they put him in their lineup. I mean, they pick up this guy to cover for Rodgers when he's hurt, and then they don't put him in. All right, let's take a look at the overall points for the season. You've got the Hellcats and Donkey Kong with those top 2 picks. You've got Last Longer with 5 first-round picks, of course, this year. They're going to have a monster team coming back because of the draft that they lined up for this season. Yeah, they might have made 2nd or 3rd place in points this year, but look at what they got coming into next year. The Last Longer is going to be tough going into next year. And now let's take a look at that next year. I've got my 5 teams to watch next year, the 5 best teams coming in. The Chiefs, 5th place with Breeze, Mendenhall if he comes back healthy, Bowen, Welker, Gates, and of course a top 5 pick. Donkey Kong with Ryan, Miles, CJ, and of course the 2nd overall. The Jets, Rodgers, Fitzgerald, Jennings, and Jackson. You can't discount them. The Sharks, Rivers, Rice, Green, Bush, and Smith. And of course Last Longer with Cruz, Vick, and Britt. And yeah, Vick is at least worth a 2. They're going to be back in the top spot, hunting for the top prize coming into next year. And of course this season, the team has, this league has been together now 20 years. Here's a look at the top players that are going to come available in the draft next year. A pretty deep talent of first round. Maybe the last big year we're going to have for first round picks. But think about this. If Marcus Colston gets one more point in that Monday night game in Week 11, and Reggie Bush doesn't bounce for a double in that game against me, well, let's go back to the Marcus Colston. The Animal Dogs, Bob Mills, would have won the first round of the playoffs. They would have won the second round, and they would be the Super Bowl winner. And, of course, now you can take a look at who's next. That's all we got to look forward to now. It's the offseason. Take a look at these guys who are the future stars of the NFL. Everybody have a good offseason. Happy New Year.